What if you're not living a life, but replaying one? Not metaphorically, literally. Repeating a pattern so deeply embedded in your perception, you don't even recognize it as repetition anymore. You're not watching life unfold. You're observing a script you've already seen, again and again and again. And the most dangerous part? You think you're choosing it. You think it's new. You think it's real. There's a concept in quantum physics known as the observer effect. It suggests that by observing something, you change it. But what happens when you keep observing the same thing, in the same way, over and over? You collapse the same probability. You anchor the same outcome, and you end up trapped in what's called an observer loop. A feedback cycle between your attention and your reality. Like a cosmic echo chamber where the more you look, the more you lock it in. You might have noticed it. Same people, different names. Same failures, new packaging. Same emotions wearing new masks. Different scenes, same pattern. And just when you think you've made a different choice, you find yourself waking up in the same room, just rearranged. That's the observer loop. And no, you're not here by accident. You found this video because the loop is weakening. The glitch is showing. You're starting to notice. That déjà vu, that subtle hum that something is off, the uncanny sense that you've been here before, even in brand new moments. That's not nostalgia. That's your consciousness brushing against the edge of the loop. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Reality isn't a fixed linear path. It's a quantum feedback mirror. And you're not some passive player lost in the simulation. You are the projector. But as long as you observe unconsciously, you recreate the same storyline endlessly. The same jobs, the same relationships, the same betrayals, the same almost successes, the same next time it'll be different. If that resonates, good. It means your awareness is slipping past the loop. Cracks are forming in the false continuity. And if you feel like this video is speaking directly to you, it is. Because the loop is personal. It runs on your attention. And right now, you're beginning to take it back. So no, you're not stuck. You're repeating. But the moment you observe the observer, everything changes. You are not just witnessing reality. You're manufacturing it. The world isn't something happening to you. It's something happening through you. And every time you look at it, you crystallize it. Just like a quantum particle collapsing under observation, your life folds into form every time you pay attention. The shape of your world is not fixed. It's reactive, responsive, and it listens only to one voice, yours. In the quantum realm, there is no solid reality. Everything exists as a probability, a cloud of potential, until it's observed. And once you observe it, boom, the wave collapses. Possibility becomes outcome. This isn't just science. This is you, every single day. The observer effect isn't a physics experiment. It's your entire life experience. Because where your attention goes, reality follows. That uncomfortable moment that keeps repeating, that emotion that returns even when the situation changes, that version of yourself you keep meeting no matter how hard you evolve, it's not fate, it's attention. It's you reactivating the same loop simply by watching. You think you're observing reality? Reality is observing you. You're the signal. You're the emitter. You're the calibration point around which the simulation organizes. And if you constantly expect rejection, chaos, delay, not only will you see it, you will generate it. Every belief you carry isn't just a thought, it's a frequency. And that frequency is a command to the field. So when you walk into a room already bracing for resistance, the field responds in kind. When you expect to be ignored, you collapse a timeline where you disappear. You are not a victim of circumstances. You're the architect of circumstance, even when it feels like you're not. Because your attention is never neutral. It creates what it focuses on, then pretends to discover it later. But you're not discovering reality. You're recording over it, over and over and over again. What happens when you stop reacting to what you see and start creating what you broadcast? You exit the default loop. You step into the observer's seat consciously, and for the first time, reality bends. Not because you forced it, but because you remembered you are it. When time feels warped, you're not crazy, you're quantum looping. It's not just one of those weeks again. It's the same loop, folding in on itself, wearing a new mask. Same emotions, same thoughts, same spirals, wearing different names and different clothes. You're not stuck in life. You're stuck in perception, and perception loops. Ever notice how certain patterns keep repeating? Not just in your routines, but in your timelines. Like you're living variations of the same week, the same relationships, the same emotional cycles, over and over. That's not memory. That's not nostalgia. That's temporal distortion. The experience of time folding in on itself when consciousness is caught in a feedback loop. You feel stuck not because time is holding you, but because attention is recycling itself. In quantum terms, attention selects from infinite probabilities. But most people don't select, they repeat.
Why? Because they observe unconsciously. They look with the same beliefs, feel the same emotions, and apply the same meaning. And the field responds by giving them the same result. The same Monday, the same heartbreak, the same creative block, subtly disguised, but energetically identical. The human mind is wired to find what it expects. So, if your expectations are wired into past pain, you'll loop it perfectly. You'll call it bad luck, but it's actually perfect resonance. The illusion of time is this: you think it moves forward, but in reality, it orbits your frequency. It spins around the signal you're sending out. And unless that signal shifts, your future will be your past in slow motion. The loop continues not because life is cruel, but because consciousness is consistent. It keeps painting the same scene with slightly different colors. And until you see the pattern, not just intellectually, but energetically, you're trapped. Not by time, by self-similarity. But here's the twist. If you can observe the loop without identifying with it, you begin to dissolve it. You don't have to fight time. You only need to shift frequency. Because time doesn't trap you. Awareness does. And the moment awareness becomes coherent, the loop breaks.
You can't think your way out of a quantum maze, because every thought is part of the maze. The more you try to solve your life, the deeper the illusion pulls you in. Because the logical mind wasn't built to escape loops. It was built to repeat them. And most people stay trapped not because they're asleep, but because they're thinking too much while trying to wake up. Let's get something straight. The logical mind is not your enemy, but it's not your escape hatch either. Thought is a tool, one designed to navigate a world you've already constructed. But when you use that same tool to break out of the loop, you end up reinforcing the loop's walls. Why? Because the mind only knows the past. It draws from memory, language, and conditioning. It compares, categorizes, repeats. And the more it tries to figure it out, the more it anchors your attention to the exact frequency you're trying to escape. Thought says, "Why does this keep happening to me? Maybe if I just understand it better, I'll be free. Let me analyze it one more time." But attention doesn't follow clarity. Clarity follows attention. And if your attention is locked into analysis, you're not shifting reality. You're orbiting it. You think you're escaping the loop, but really you're just naming it more precisely. True shift doesn't begin with thought. It begins beneath thought, in the silent awareness that notices without reacting, the space between ideas, the observer of the observer. Most people miss this because they're addicted to internal noise, to figuring it out, to dissecting the pattern until it finally gives in. But loops don't collapse from insight.
They collapse from non-participation. When you stop feeding the loop your attention, when you no longer identify with the need to explain, the pattern begins to dissolve. Not because you beat it, but because you stopped being a co-writer. You don't escape by winning the game. You escape by realizing you're not the player. You're the screen. And when you stop thinking like the mind and start seeing from beyond it, the simulation shivers, because it's no longer being rendered by your fear. It's being rewritten by your presence.
Synchronicities, déjà vu, quantum echoes. Tiny tremors in your timeline, subtle but undeniable. Moments that don't fit but feel like they were always meant to. You start noticing patterns you never saw. And the ones you did see, they suddenly scream at you in symbols. This isn't coincidence, it's coherence. Your signal is shifting, and the simulation is responding. When the loop starts to crack, you don't need to try to wake up. You feel it happening. Like reality's veil is thinning, and light is bleeding through. You'll notice repeating numbers, 1111, 333, 222. Not just numbers, but timestamps, winks from the code itself. Heightened sensitivity to noise, to people, to cluttered energy. Like your frequency is too high for the old version of Earth. Glitches in timing, near misses, déjà vu, premonitions. It feels like the simulation is lagging behind your awareness. Emotional intensity, joy spikes without reason, sadness with no story. You're not breaking down, you're disintegrating the false identity. Most of all, you feel like you're waking up inside the dream. You still go to work, still talk to friends, but deep inside there's a hum, a knowing. The question, "Is this all there is?" starts to sound less like despair and more like a key. You notice people repeating the same lines, as if they're running scripts. You see behind their eyes and recognize they're still sleeping, just like you used to be. Your body might even rebel. Old cravings fall away. You eat less or different. You need more silence. You need space. Because your frequency is no longer compatible with unconscious looping. Your awareness is creating dissonance in the loop, and the illusion doesn't know what to do with it. That's a good sign. Because the more you see, the less the program can hold you. You're not just decoding the matrix, you're rewriting your exit path. And you're not alone. If this resonates with you, you're not just watching a video, you're remembering something. So subscribe, not just to this channel, but to the frequency of coherence. We're not escaping the loop. We're harmonizing
beyond it, together.
You're not broken. You're not going crazy. You're not imagining this. You're part of a global wave of quantum-sensitive beings waking up at once. Across time zones and belief systems, people are feeling it. Reality doesn't work the way they were taught. The loop is thinning, and truth is starting to leak through the cracks. You're not isolated. You're sinking. Welcome to the field. There's a phenomenon in biology called morphic resonance. It says that when one organism learns something, others elsewhere begin learning it faster, without contact, without teaching, just through the field. Consciousness works the same way. Every time one person breaks a loop, they shift the probability space for everyone. And right now, millions are waking up. Not by accident, not by trend, but because the signal is getting stronger. Think about it. You start questioning everything. Then suddenly, so do your friends. You feel called to stillness. Then the world begins craving silence. You begin seeing numbers, codes, patterns, and online strangers describe the exact same thing in the same week. That's not coincidence. That's resonance. You're tuning in to a shared frequency, a kind of quantum internet that doesn't need devices. It needs alignment. And when enough people tune in, it collapses the old field. Because the old paradigm runs on disconnection, separation, noise, and fear. But the new one? It runs on coherence, on shared presence, shared seeing, shared remembering. This is why the illusion feels like it's breaking apart faster now. It is. You're not imagining it. You're contributing to it. Every act of awareness ripples. Every timeline you collapse shifts the weight of the collective. Every time you choose coherence over reaction, you upgrade the field. And this doesn't require a million followers. It just requires frequency integrity. You staying in signal. You remembering truth when the noise comes back. You refusing to loop even when it's tempting. Because each of us may be one node, but together we're a lattice. And the lattice is waking up. You are not alone. You never were. You just had to shift far enough to start hearing the others. And now you do. Alignment dissolves separation. Attraction reinforces it. That's the paradox no one tells you. Because the way most people use the law of attraction is a loop in disguise. They say, I want to attract abundance, but by wanting it, they declare they don't have it. Desire becomes evidence of lack, and the universe, always precise, reflects exactly that. The manifestation trap is subtle. It dresses like empowerment, but smells like striving. It begins with this idea. Visualize what you want and pull it toward you. But pause.
pull it toward you, that implies it's not here, that you are separate from the state you desire, and separation creates distortion. Because quantum fields don't respond to begging, they respond to resonance. And resonance doesn't care about your mood board. It reflects your being, not your wanting. Here's the truth. You don't attract the life you want. You attract the frequency you are. The universe doesn't give you what you ask for. It gives you what you match. And alignment isn't about convincing yourself you're worthy. It's about becoming the signal until reality has no choice but to synchronize with it. So instead of trying to manifest love, become the vibration of self-recognition now. Trying to attract wealth, anchor into the frequency of sufficiency now. Trying to bring in peace, stop feeding chaos with unconscious thoughts now. You don't manifest by reaching out. You manifest by tuning in, by collapsing the idea of later, because all distance, even temporal, is illusion. Every time you say, "I will have it," you delay it. Every time you say, "I already am it," you collapse the loop. Attraction is linear. Alignment is quantum. One assumes lack, the other assumes identity, and that changes everything. You're not here to manifest like a magician chasing smoke. You're here to become like a tuning fork, so attuned to your truth that the simulation bends to meet it. Reality doesn't need to be pulled. It needs to be remembered. Because in the quantum field, everything is now, and now is everything.
Reality reorganizes around coherence, not effort. Let that land. You've been taught that life responds to hustle, grind, and strategy. But the quantum field doesn't bend to force. It bends to frequency. And the frequency with the most gravitational pull isn't thought, isn't emotion. It's coherence. When your emotional, mental, and energetic bodies harmonize, you don't chase timelines, you collapse them. So, what is coherence? It's not being calm. It's not pretending to be positive. It's not a new age buzzword. It's the alignment of signal between your body, mind, and field. When your thoughts are congruent with your truth. When your nervous system isn't fighting your intuition. When your energy doesn't leak through contradiction. That's coherence. It's when your presence becomes so internally consistent that the external world mirrors it by default. This isn't metaphor. This is physics. In a feedback-based reality, you are the emitter, the projector. When your signal is scrambled, life scrambles back. But when it locks into internal harmony, it interrupts the observer loop,
the system that feeds reality with your unconscious expectation. Because here's the thing, you can't effort your way out of a loop. Trying harder just strengthens the bind. More mindset work, more rituals, more hacks. All of it keeps you in the loop by reinforcing the belief, I'm not there yet. But coherence skips that story. Coherence says, I'm not waiting for the shift, I am the shift. And reality responds quickly, precisely, organically. You stop fighting the current and become the field conductor, shaping probability through presence, not pressure. This is the true game changer. Not manifesting, not escaping, not even awakening, but learning to stabilize frequency so reality bends without resistance. It's not about control, it's about compatibility. When you embody coherence, you don't need to chase synchronicity, you become it. So stop trying to pull reality toward you. Stop forcing timelines to bloom. Instead, stand still. Tune your signal. Let the illusion collapse around your coherence. Because the loop was never real. Only your participation made it feel permanent. You're not here to win the game. You're here to end it. By remembering who you are and vibrating that truth into every frame of this simulation. Now that is liberation. Animals, technology, people, they're already responding to you, even if you're not saying a word. Because when your frequency changes, the field around you shifts, and the simulation, it notices. You're not imagining it when cats stare at you longer, streetlights flicker as you pass, people open up to you instantly, devices glitch for no reason. This isn't coincidence, it's feedback. As coherence stabilizes inside you, it starts to ripple outward, like tuning a fork in a silent room. Everything reacts. You'll notice. Animals become hyper-attuned. Dogs stare with reverence. Birds gather near you. Cats won't leave your space. They feel the signal and trust it. Machines get glitchy. Phones freeze around you. Lights flicker more than usual. Watches stop working, but only on your wrist. It's not bad luck. It's electromagnetic resonance. Your field is broadcasting higher frequencies, and the circuitry isn't used to it. People change their behavior. Strangers confess things. Friends say, you feel different. Children gravitate toward you. Your presence becomes a mirror, and some will be drawn to it, others repelled. Both are signs you're shifting. Even nature starts to behave differently. You'll walk into spaces that feel like déjà vu. You'll feel timelines bleeding together, sensing echoes of what's coming before it arrives. That's not the future. That's the now, aligning with a higher state. The simulation becomes more malleable, more interactive, more alive. Because you're no longer a passive participant, you're co-creating with it, and it's responding in kind. Doors open without forcing. Opportunities find you instead of the reverse. Time bends, clocks lie, coincidence becomes the new currency. These are the markers of phase shift. The world didn't change, you did. And now the world has no choice but to reflect it. So, next time your phone glitches or a streetlight winks out, smile. You're not haunted, you're humming. You didn't break the system, you're just vibrating beyond its settings. And reality is finally starting to catch up.
The wave is peaking, and it won't return for generations. You are not imagining the intensity. Something is shifting, not just in your life, but across the collective timeline. The loops are breaking, the masks are falling, and timelines are splitting. What you choose now echoes far beyond this lifetime. We are in a moment of collective destabilization. It may look like chaos, but what you're witnessing is recalibration. Old systems are collapsing under their own weight. Narratives are fracturing. Consensus reality is splintering. Because the simulation is reaching overload. And when a collective field destabilizes, timelines begin to split. Some loop back into fear, survival, and control. Others ascend into coherence, presence, and sovereignty. And here's the truth. You can't ride both. At some point, you have to choose a signal. You have to choose which loop you serve. If you stay in fear, the loop tightens. If you stabilize in truth, it dissolves. This window won't stay open forever. We are standing in a rare alignment, a confluence of energies that only arises once every few human generations. And like a wave, it rises, crests, and then crashes. So if you're feeling the pressure to decide, that's not just you. That's the field asking, are you staying in distortion or becoming coherence? Because from here forward, your frequency is your passport. Not your belief system, not your resume, not your knowledge. Only your signal determines which timeline responds. Some will resist and loop, others will anchor and lead. And the ones who remember through the chaos, they won't just survive the shift, they'll build what comes after. So breathe. Yes, it's wild. Yes, it's destabilizing. But you are exactly where you need to be. This is what you came for. To stand in the storm as the old dissolves and hold the tone of coherence for what's trying to be born. Because this is the turning point, not of history, of frequency. And the next wave, it won't come again in your lifetime. You're not changing reality. You're becoming the space where reality changes. Let that hit. Because at this stage, you're not here to manifest, not to fix, not to escape. You're here to anchor, to become coherence, so stable, so unwavering, that reality has no choice but to recalibrate around you. Not because you pushed, but because you became the field itself. You are not separate from the field. You are the field. Everything you touch, feel, and influence is a feedback loop within your own signal. When you hold full-state coherence, mental, emotional, energetic, you stop pinging the simulation for confirmation. You become the confirmation. This is what ends the loop. Not more effort, not more healing, not more waiting, but full embodiment. No more partial presence, no more flickering between timelines, no more hoping the future feels better. Because when you act from timeline embodiment, you no longer ask, how do I get there? You become there now. Every step, every word, every silence broadcasts your chosen reality like a tuning fork through the grid. And from that state, you don't collapse time, you transcend it. You don't chase results, you invite convergence. You don't hope for the shift, you are the shift. Coherence is not a mindset, it's a field condition. And when you hold it, you become contagious. People start shifting near you. Rooms feel different when you enter. Timelines start to rearrange, and you don't even flinch. Because you're no longer reacting, you're radiating. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being precise. Not with your actions, but with your signal. So here's your final prompt. Drop this in the comments. I am coherent with my highest timeline. Say it, feel it, live it. Because this isn't a broadcast, it's a transmission. And if it reached you, oh, it's because you were already carrying the signal. Now, amplify it. Coherence isn't coming, it's here. And so are you.